G'day everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be finding equations of cubics given a graph, otherwise known as determining a cubic equation. Okay, so let's have a look at some of these. No theory today, just going to jump straight in because we already know a lot about these things from sketching them. So let's have a look. So in this one, what do we know? Let's have a think about what we know. It crosses the x-axis at -1/3. So there's an x-intercept there. It touches the x-axis at 3 on 2 when x is equal to 3 on 2. Okay, so there's a double root there. We'll talk about that in a second. And also we've got a y-intercept. So we've got lots of information, and so we should be able to get the equation from this. Well, of course we should. Okay, and so what does it look like? So y is going to be equal to, we know that -1/3 is a factor. So we could write that as x plus 1/3 as the factor there. We could also write it like, and it sort of depends on how you want to go. It doesn't matter, either way, it'll sort of all work out. But you could also write this as 3x plus 1. That will also give you -1/3. And you'll see it works out because we're going to put an a out the front. And so it'll all sort of work out in the wash. It'll sort of depend on what you have. It'll all be the same, but you could go either way. I'm just going to keep the numbers whole. Secondly, we've also got 3 on 2 as one of another place. I've just dropped my pen. Where did it go? And so there, when you're going to need to, would you believe it? I just cannot find it. There it is. Okay. Cross is averted. We've also got it touching at 3 on 2. So what would that look like? That would look like 2x minus 3. Okay, because if you solve that for equal to 0, you get 3 on 2. Again, you could write it as x minus 3 on 2, and that would be the same thing. It just makes your working out a little bit messy later on. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So now, because it touches, it doesn't cross, it touches, what that means is there's going to be a double root there. So that'll be squared, 2x minus 3 squared in there. And that is our cubic. Okay, so that's all the information. So that 3x plus 1 relates to that point there. And that 2x minus 3 squared relates to that point where it touches the x-axis there. Now, we need to find the value of a. And so we've got one more point here that we can use. And so that point is, so I just erased more than I should have, 2x minus 3 squared. We can sub in 0.06. Okay, and that's a nice point to sub in because x equals 0 will make all that sort of stuff a little bit nicer. Okay, so therefore we've got 6 is equal to a in brackets. If that's 0, then you get 3 times 0 plus 1, so that's just going to be 1 inside that bracket. And there, 2x minus 3, so that's just -3 squared there. Okay, and so therefore 6 is equal to -3 squared is 9, so that's 9a. Therefore, a is equal to 6 over 9, which is 2/3. Okay, and that's going to be my equation. Therefore, we've got y is equal to 2/3 3x plus 1, 2x minus 3 squared. So if you did do what I sort of said, if you did do this, if you went a x plus 1/3 x minus 3 on 2 squared. If you did that right, you'll still get the correct answer. You'll get a different value of a, okay? Because and so if you go work that out, you get a different value of a, which will be sitting out the front, which is just comes out as a factor. So they'll both be the same thing. They'll just look different, and your working out will be a little bit harder because you're going to have to square 3 over 2, which is not the end of the world, but you're going to have fractions and things like that in your answer. But I hope that makes sense. Let's have a look at this. I'm only doing 2 examples in this video. Let's have a look at this one here. So find the equation of this cubic. What information do we have? All right, well, it touches again at the origin, and we've got one other point up here, no other information, and we've got another point down here, no information. Okay, so this one's a little bit trickier. There's lots sort of less sort of concrete evidence we have. We don't know this guy here. We don't know that x-intercept, so that would have been nice to get that information, but we don't have it. So what does our equation look like? Well, y is going to be equal to we're going to have, firstly, we're going to have our first x-intercept at x minus 0, right? Because 0 is that there. So we're going to have that. Because it touches the x-axis, it's going to be squared. It's horrible too. So it's going to be squared there. And there's also going to be another there. Let's just let that be p or something, right? So that we're going to have another one there. We're going to have x minus p there as well. All right. And also we're going to have an a sitting out the front because there's going to be some sort of dilation factor sitting out the front that we don't know at the moment. Let's just clean that up a little bit. So it's going to be a x minus 0 is just x. So that's ax squared. I'm getting a bit messy in my old age. X squared bracket x minus p. All right. So we just need to figure out what p is equal to. At the moment, we don't know what that is. Okay. We don't know a either, but we do have 2 points. And so we're going to sub in our 2 points, and that's going to give us some information. So we're going to sub in negative 3, 1. And over here, I'm going to sub in, what is it? 2, negative 4. So if we do that, we're going to get 1 is equal to a negative 3 squared, negative 3 minus p. So that's my first equation. And over here, we're going to get negative 4 is equal to ax squared. So a 2 squared 2 minus p there. Okay. Just clean them up. 1 equals 9a negative 3 minus p. And negative 4 equals 4a 2 minus p. Now, just to save time today, I've got 2 simultaneous equations. I'm just going to solve them on the CAS, which will be fine. Could do this sort of thing by hand. I'll just use CAS. So I'll go menu, algebra, solve system of equations, and I want 2 equations. I want to solve for a and p. And what have I got? I had 1 equals 9a bracket negative 3 minus p, and negative 4 equals 4a 2 minus p. Now, oh yeah, it's given me a nonsense answer. And looking back at how I've written it, you can sort of see that it hasn't figured out. It always puts dots where there should be multipliers. Can you see how it's missed a couple of dots? So a bracket there. I'm just going to put times there so that it knows it should be timesing that because it doesn't recognize the difference, and a times there. And that should sort him out. And it did. Yep. So that's all good. So we get, therefore, we get a is negative 2/9. I'm glad I did that with CAS because that looks pretty horrible. A is negative 2/9 and P is negative 5/2. And we expected P to be a negative value, so that all looks correct. Good, and we expected A to be negative as well because it's a descending function. Therefore, my final equation is y equals, where was it? Ax squared, so negative 2/9 x squared, x minus p, so it'll be x plus 5/2. That's my final equation there. All good. Hope that all made sense. I'll see you in the next video.